is rehabilitation after salivary gland surgeries, to be presented by Dr. Mitesh Patel, rehabilitative physiotherapist at HCG Asta Cancer Center, Ahmedabad.
A very good evening to all. Myself, Dr. Mitesh Patel. I am working as a rehabilitative physiotherapist at HCG Asta Cancer Center, Ahmedabad. Today I will be talking on rehabilitation after salivary gland surgery. Today's discussion will focus on the rehabilitative aspects of post-salivary gland surgeries, chiefly focusing on parotid and submandibular glands. As a brief introduction, parotidectomy can be classified into partial or adequate, superficial and total. This is an illustration of the important relations of the parotid gland we are all well versed with. This is an excellent demonstration of branches of facial nerve post-superficial parotidectomy. This diagram details the terminal branches of the facial nerve which are pertinent to our discussion today. We will begin our talk now on post-surgical facial nerve weakness. Some of the common symptoms include paresis or paralysis of facial muscles, inability to close eyes, inability to puff cheeks, and so on. This is a demonstration of some of the common signs and symptoms of facial nerve weakness. In our experience, we have found that marginal mandibular nerve is most commonly affected, especially in tumors of lower lobe and deep lobe of salivary glands. House-Bachmann grading system has been widely used to assess degree of facial nerve impairment based on eye closure. It is instrumental as well to assess recovery of facial nerve function post-impairment. In our protocol, when grade 1 or 2 weakness is noted in the immediate post-operative period, we start early rehabilitation and medical management. Reassessment is done regularly and further step of management is typically decided roughly after a period of 10 to 14 days. Hot and cold tube test helps in the assessment of sensory impairment and guides to intensity management of electrostimulation and thus helps in prevention of thermal burns. Management of facial nerve weakness involves a tri-pronged approach consisting of surgical, medical, and rehabilitative management. Surgical management in form of nerve reanimation and medical management consisting of administration of corticosteroids and certain vitamin supplements. This diagram demonstrates various facial nerve motor points which are useful landmarks for rehabilitative physiotherapy. We will come to the details of facial muscle motor points in later part of the discussion. Electrodiagnostics test involve application of electric stimulation and measuring the electromyographic responses. It is pertinent to our discussion today as assessment of facial nerve weakness. In nerve excitability test, a difference of 2 to 3.5 milliamperes in threshold between both sides on this test is a reliable sign of severe degeneration. Maximum stimulation test involves application of supramaximal stimulus applied on unaffected side until no further increase in response is obtained, and same amount of stimulus applied to the affected side and response is measured as 0%, 25%, 50% or 100% as compared to the unaffected side. Electroneuronography is same as nerve excitability test, but here one electrode is placed at stylomastoid foramen and other electrode at the nasolabial groove. It quantifies the percentage of fibers that have degenerated. Electromyography measures spontaneous and voluntary muscle potentials induced into muscle. The goals of the physiotherapeutic management have been illustrated in this slide. They are to educate patient about the condition, example eye care, which includes eye padding, night eye padding, facilitating of eye closures, wearing of sunglasses for avoiding harsh exposures, outright exposures. To relieve pain by various medical managements in form of gel applications and painkiller supplementations. To establish the basis for re-education of muscle and nerve conduction, to re-educate the sensations if they are involved, to improve the muscle contraction, to improve the facial symmetry, to prevent further complications. Coming to the first topic of exercises, conventional exercises. They target facial muscle groups supplied by the terminal muscular branches of the facial nerve. This slide illustrates and the subsequent slides will demonstrate the various muscle groups and how they are trained in conventional exercises. This is an illustration of various exercises used in the management of facial nerve paresis, focusing on muscles such as occipitofrontalis, orbicularis oculi, buccinator, orbicularis oris, platysma, etc. Now coming to the topic of PNF, that is proprioceptive neuromuscular exercises. Techniques of PNF include pressure or massaging the affected area, stretch, resistance, reinforcement, repeated contractions, reversal of antagonistic, and relaxation techniques may be used as indicated. A brief review of literature. A study done to compare effects of PNF versus conventional exercises in subjects with facial nerve palsy for improving facial symmetry and facial motor function. Two groups of 10 subjects were considered. Group A received PNF along with electrical stimulation, and Group B received conventional exercises along with electrical stimulation for a period of 6 weeks. Users concluded that PNF group showed better improvement than the conventional exercise group. We now come to the most important part of rehabilitation, that is electrical stimulation. Main indication of electrical stimulation is stimulation of denervated muscle, and stimulation must be strong enough to produce muscle contraction. Classification of electrodes according to its placement site in the body. Number 1, surface electrodes. In these electrodes are attached to the skin. Number 2, invasive or indwelling electrodes. Electrodes are implanted near the nerves or bones. Number 3, internal electrodes. These electrodes are inside the body cavities. Physiotherapists are using surface electrodes only, so our discussion of today will be for surface electrodes in detail. Coming to the types of surface electrodes used in physiotherapy, they are rubber electrodes, metal electrodes, vacuum electrodes, and self-adhesive electrodes. We will now discuss in detail each type of electrodes. Rubber electrodes. They are made up of carbon and silicon. These are the most commonly used electrodes, and their main advantage is that they are user-friendly and they can be adjusted according to the body contour, making firm contact with the skin. They need gel to make contact between skin and electrode. Without this, conducting medium current will not enter the patient's skin. Metal electrodes. Metal electrodes do not need conducting gel, but lint pad should be dipped in water. They might lead to skin chemical burns occasionally due to metal coming in direct contact with the skin under electric activity. Vacuum electrodes. These do not need stabilization by strap or tap or tape. It can be placed over the body's irregular parts. They also do not need any conducting gel. Now coming to the types of stimulator used for electrotherapy. The two types of stimulators used are constant current or regulated current type and constant voltage or regulated voltage type. Constant current type, the intensity is in current, that is amperes. They are more accurate and mostly used for diagnostic purposes. Constant voltage electrodes, in contrary, the intensity is in voltage. They are more comfortable and most commonly used for treatment purposes. Effect of frequency of stimulation. 0 to 20 Hz, there is no tetany observed. Complete contraction followed by complete relaxation of muscle. 20 to 60 Hz, partial tetany, complete contraction followed by incomplete relaxation of muscle. More than 60 Hz, tetany observed, complete contraction without relaxation of muscle. Dosage of electrotherapy. Galvanic or continuous versus Faradic or pulsating of 0.2 to 100 Hz is the commonly used frequency. The duration is around 10 to 30 minutes depending on the degree of impairment. Strength of contraction. Strength of contraction depends on two factors. One, number of motor units activated, which in turn depends on the intensity. Second, rate of change of current, that is the waveform. Example, with gradually increasing intensity type of waveform, intensity needed is more, and with sudden increasing intensity type of waveform, intensity needed is less. Effect of nerve stimulation. The discovery of Bell-Megendy law, which states that ventral spinal roots transmit motor impulses and the posterior roots sensory impulses, established a major landmark in the history of neuroscience. This law forms the basis of nerve stimulation. Physiological effects of nerve stimulation are based on differential resistances of different body tissues, with epidermis having the highest resistance and muscle having the most favorable resistance. Smart Bristow coil. Pulses of electric current are used in Faraday treatment in physiotherapy departments, are usually generated by electronic apparatus with facilities for pulsating the burst of electrical pulses. In older machines, a Faraday coil is used which generates the pulses by interruption of current to an inductor similar to a car ignition coil. The newer Smart Bristow Faraday coil used in physiotherapy apparatus has a retractable iron core which is moved in and out of the coil to change the strength of the pulses. Motor points are defined anatomically as point where nerve enters into the muscle, and physiologically they are defined as points where one can get maximum contraction with minimum intensity of current. Its anatomical location is at the junction of proximal 1/3 and distal 2/3. For therapeutic purposes, two types of currents are chiefly used: intermittent galvanic current, also called as modified direct current, and surge Faraday currents. Intermittent galvanic currents, the pulse duration is more than 10 milliseconds, that is long duration pulse. Frequency is 30 per minute. It is used for stimulation of denervated muscle. It is a variant of direct current. For electrical stimulation, cathode or anode can be active, and it gives a stabbing sensation. In contrast, surge Faraday currents have less than 10 millisecond pulse duration, that is short duration pulse. Frequency is 50 to 100 Hz. It is used for stimulation of denervated as well innervated muscle. It is a variant of alternating current. For electrical stimulation, cathode is the active electrode and it gives a prickling sensation. This is an illustration of a typical electrostimulation machine, which is commonly used for nerve and muscle electrostimulation. This picture illustrates a patient operated for parotid tumor. As noted in the picture, he has grade 4 House-Brackmann weakness. This video demonstrates post-parotidectomy facial weakness. Subsequent part of the video will demonstrate electrostimulations to particular muscle groups and nerve points. Lastly, it will show how focused electrostimulation therapy can lead to complete recovery of even a grade 4 House-Brackmann weakness. As noted in the video, we can see how different muscle groups of the facial nerve region are being simulated by the handheld electrostimulatory probe and how the twitches are being observed in the different muscle groups. You can see the twitches of the orbicularis oculi muscle. This portion of the video shows how a complete recovery has been obtained in this patient with complete eye closure and complete puffing of cheeks post electrostimulatory therapy, leading to complete recovery of a grade 4 House-Brackmann weakness. Electrotherapy. Other therapies include ultrasound, laser, pulse electromagnetic therapy, and infrared rays. This slide illustrates the doses of an ultrasound therapy and how it is administered. A short review of literature. 2 case reports were studied on facial palsy after dissection of recurrent peripleomorphic adenoma and their progress with electrical stimulation. Subjects received electrical stimulation twice daily for 24 weeks, during which photographs of expression, facial measurements, and Sunnybrook scores were recorded. Both subjects recovered good facial function, demonstrating Sunnybrook scores of 54 and 64 that improved to 88 and 96 respectively. Study concluded that electrical stimulation is a safe treatment and may improve facial palsy in patients after resection of recurrent pleomorphic adenoma. Self-rehabilitation techniques, home program with diary monitoring. This slide demonstrates a typical home exercise regimen given to patients consisting of detailed instructions regarding exercises in front of mirror or family member and detailed recovery diary keeping. This is how a typical diary looks like, in which various muscle groups are subdivided and the patient charts the recovery day by day with every passing exercise session. Key message: there are various treatment options available: stimulator, ultrasound, and various forms of exercise. Exercises are must for better recovery. To conclude my presentation, early diagnosis and focused early management are key to better recovery in post-salivary gland surgery rehabilitation. Thank you very much for being patient listeners. Any questions are welcome.